Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to some more StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void. Today I'm going to show you a game that I played yesterday versus the one and only Nathanias right here. You may know him from the casting that he does, you may know him from his live stream or pretty much anything else that he has to do with the StarCraft 2 scene. This is the Legacy of the Void beta. It is currently closed, so there are only so many people that are playing this. So there's a big chance you're meeting some famous people right now if you are indeed, you know, in the actual beta. So this is, I believe, the second or third game that I played versus Nathanias, and you know, I'm proposing right here no siege tank drops and no Ravagers, but I'll go over exactly why that is in a second. The map that we're playing on, by the way, I've spawned in the top right corner right here. The map that we are playing on is going to be Cactus Valley Alley, which is basically like a newer version of Whirlwind, is what it feels like to me very, very often. I mean, you know, I don't know if you guys remember Whirlwind, but it used to be a map that feels very similar to play on. Also having this like sort of this sort of like circular design right there with a watchtower in the middle. But anyways, so in the meantime, I'm opening up with a hatchery first. Gonna go for a spawning pool pretty early and a gas guys result, although pretty early on. And my opponent is gonna go for a factory right there, as you can see, or a barracks right there as well, and he's shortly gonna also pro down that factory because, as you can see, he did take the refinery very, very early on. So the reason why he's mentioning Ravage me is because in a couple games that we played, I have basically done Ravagers every single time. Now, obviously, I don't know exactly if you remembered those games, but most of the Zerg players on the ladder are going to be playing Ravagers right now. Ravagers are insanely powerful. They give you an incredible, like, early game defense, as well as, like, the potential to sort of, like, contain the opponent on, you know, 2 or 3 bases, depending on what moment in the game it is. And knowing that your opponent is going to mine out his main base around the 11-ish minute mark, it is going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. And, you know, most of the Zerg players right now, at the very least, that I have encountered are all playing a lot of Ravagers. Now, the reason why I'm asking him to not play siege tanks and why not drop siege tanks is because every single game that I've played versus him, he has been going for siege tanks. So spoiler alert, in this game, that is going to be the case as well. Now, the main difference with that is that in the past, in Heart of the Swarm, for example, you could not actually do this. You could only you know, pick up like an unsiege tank, but right now you can actually pick up siege tanks, practically making them reavers from Brood War, if any of you do remember that exact time. But this game is awesome. Like, this is by far the best game that I have played so far of Legacy of the Void. It is a very, very back and forth struggle, so I sincerely hope you guys will enjoy this one. Not gonna spoil it too much, but I'm gonna try and talk you through the actual things that are happening throughout this entire game right here. So my opponent already got the starport going up right now, starting up the Hellion production right here in the actual factory, and we can already see that there is also a tech lab in production right now on the barracks. Meanwhile, on my side of the map, I decided to go for 4 queens in total, I believe. Yeah, 4 queens in total right there as well. And I already have Zerging speed, metabolic boost in production right now too. That will allow me to get that nice little Zerging speed going on early on. Now, there are a lot of changes that I have not discussed on YouTube, such as like an improved to adrenal glands later on into the game. Zerglings actually will get 40% more attack speed instead of 18, what they used to get in Heart of the Swarm. So it's a pretty massive difference right there as well. Now, I was already expecting actually for Nathanias to go straight into the siege tanks, but instead he switched it up a little bit and go for the double Hellion play instead, and then switch it up a little bit later again into the siege tank production, as well as a medevac, while having some Hellions out to pressure. Now, he's already doing a nice little move right here. What is going on? There's been an SCV moving across the map, making a bunker pretty close to my natural, and in the meantime, he already made a bunch of Marines as well. In the meantime, on my side of the map, I have currently got my Roach Warren in production. I'm gonna very shortly start up the 3rd base right here as well, and I got 4 queens out right now. So I'm a little bit confused about what is going on. At this very point in time, there is no vision of this bunker yet, and I'm a little bit confused by this. Ooh, but there we go. I see the siege tank moving in right now, and he's gonna start dropping it, trying to nuke down these queens as soon as possible. And knowing that the Zerglings are right there, it's gonna be very difficult. The bunker does end up going up right there, and he does manage to, at the very least, like, shield away the siege tanks. Now he's gonna try and switch between dropping on the high ground and dropping on the low ground, accidentally shooting down his own bunker right there. In the meantime, my queens decided to come over as well, and I'm producing more and more units, trying to micro back, hitting that transfuse, but not actually having enough energy on one of the queens yet. And he's gonna start sieging away at my main base. So I'm a bit confused by this, because this is something that did not used to be a possibility. Like, it was not a possibility back in the day. In the meantime, there are more siege tanks in production in the actual natural as well, and he's gonna have another medevac picking up that second siege tank as well as another command center going down right now. So all in all, while this is going on, the Terran player has decided to expand. Now I'm trying to target fire down the medevac, knowing that once that thing goes down, there will not be any more aggression. But my third base is just about to finish. I got some Ravagers morphing in right here. More roaches on the production tab as well. And I'm just gonna try and take down that medevac almost going down, almost dropping the siege tank, but just barely not enough. Gonna use the Ravager attack right there. Ooh, to almost lose it. Do end up transfusing it. And more Zerglings and roaches are on the production tab. So this nice little move right here by Nathanias is really starting to pay off because he's denying me from getting a big economy. But in the meantime, he's not actually ending up dealing like a significant amount of damage. And on top of that, the expansion was very much so delayed. Nice little bit of aggression right here. Smart bunker placement. Basically preventing the Zerg player from getting a good surround on these siege tanks. More and more aggression going down. One of the medevac is extremely low right now, but the siege tanks are starting to siege away at the mineral line. I do decide to throw some of these corrosive biles on one of the siege tanks. Siege tank does get picked off in the last second, which does mean that it is still alive and, you know, it's still gonna keep shooting away. Now, please note though, medevacs also do take damage from the corrosive bile ability. One of the Ravagers does end up going down right there. Do need another transfuse on one of those, but the damage is really starting to hurt. Third command center already going down right now in the main base as well. More and more barracks being added on right here too, which is really gonna be pretty important. Double upgrades will be starting up shortly, but looks like the Zerg player has managed to break the Terran for the time being. Gonna try and deal maximum amounts of damage. Ooh, almost getting a hit off right there on that medevac. Nice little bit of micro, once again picking up right before the Ravager shot can actually get there, and he's gonna start following the Zerg player around, needing to transfuse this, but it looks like the damage and the aggression has been deterred without too much of a problem, but obviously a whole bunch of economy did end up going down right there. In total, actually only 3 workers got killed by the Terran player, so it's not like it's the most massive amount of damage, but it definitely is pretty substantial later on into the game, and you'll see exactly why I'm saying that. So I am gonna start droning up once more. Lair going down right now as well. Just making sure that I get that lair going so I can start teching up. Now in Legacy of the Void, you don't need to worry too much about teching up too quickly, because Ravagers are made off of the hatchery tech. So that means that you can sort of like get those out really early on. You can get burrow, and roaches right now also have this new upgrade right here that allows them to basically burrow for absolutely free and move underground. So, you know, right now knowing that my opponent went for this super aggressive build, I am feeling alright. I know that for a fact his expansion must be delayed. There's no way he could afford all of that. And I know that there is not gonna be like a third base at the very least. I am assuming right now though that the Terran player does have, you know, the natural taken. In the meantime, I am starting to produce more and more workers, and I'm also making sure that I start up the double evolution chamber, as well as what is this? What is this we see right here? It is going to be none other than a Nydus network. Now, what are Nydus networks all about? You can transport units from one side of the map to the other side of the map, and you can do so while they actually cannot be killed while morphing in. So, in the past, when you would throw down a Nydus canal, or a Nydus worm rather, they would actually die as soon as they would get touched. So, I'm a little bit confused about exactly how it works, but basically you have this little tiny worm that morphs in, and the scan radius just barely misses it, trying to actually nuke down the corrosive bile right there, or the siege tank rather, with the corrosive bile ability on the Ravagers. Do not quite get it. Basically what happens right now is that if you throw down the Nydus canal, or the Nidus worm rather, that I'm gonna do very shortly, I would be in a lot of trouble. Now, I know right now that he has scouted this area, so I do decide to throw down a little bit closer to his expansion, and use the queens that I made early on to deal this damage that I'm really looking for right here. Now, he keeps scanning away, not quite aware yet of the aggression that's going on, but here we go. Siege tank already down, and yeah, already the Nidus worm already down, and we can see that there is gonna be a Nidus worm right here. And funny enough, Nathanias actually decide to not so much kill it, but contain it. So I got another Nidus worm finishing up in the main right now. Didn't quite manage to get anything out of that. Gonna have to do some more aggression out of this one instead. And I'm gonna start leapfrogging the queens over towards the natural. I will be able to deal a pretty big amount of damage. My upgrades are quite late, however. If you have a quick look at those, yeah, you can see that the missile upgrade right there. Will take another little while. Gonna start another Nydus worm right here on the third side of the map, and I'm just gonna try and start moving forward with this massive amounts of queens that I got. Now keep in mind, Ravagers are dealing very well with siege top tanks if they're not picked up, because the corrosive bio ability sort of just throws, you know, from a great distance, and you know, if the siege tank doesn't move, obviously it is gonna, you know, just take damage from the actual corrosive bio ability. So more and more Nydus worms going on everywhere around the map, and I'm gonna start trying to nuke down my Terran opponent. Now I am gonna have to throw down a bunch of these corrosive bios, trying to kill as many SCVs as possible. Nice little siege tank pick off right there, and it is starting to really hurt. Gonna try and transfuse. At the very least, I should try and transfuse, but he's moving forward. He does have a pretty substantial bio ball right now, and his queens are taking a lot of damage. However, we got the Ravagers still dealing damage as well. Queens are dealing a substantial amount of damage here too, and considering he does not have anything to really clean this up other than a bunch of siege tanks, this should all work out reasonably well. A lot of workers do end up going down right here. In the meantime, we do see that the weapon upgrades are pretty even. I did forget my +1 armor, and in the amount of workers that did end up going down right there, we see that 34 SCVs got killed in the totality of this game. So a lot of workers do end up going down right now, but keep in mind there is this third command center that will be able to start producing as well, and that means that there are going to be 3 mules mining at pretty much any given point in the game. So while the Nydus worm was pretty good, I do know for a fact that my economy is pretty small right now as well. I only have 40 workers off of 3 bases. That's not enough. What I should be doing right now is make a massive amount of drones just to make sure that I get the economy going, and right now I'm getting a little bit greedy, not making that many of them, making a bunch of Zerglings instead, and I'm just gonna try and finish this off as early as possible. Now I see that my opponent is moving across the map. I do see that there is, you know, a bio marine squad, as well as a couple marauders in there that, by the way, now do 2 shots instead of 1. Are dealing a bunch of damage to me, and he did stim right there, so I'm just gonna start moving in. I know that the medevac is there though, so he's just gonna be able to run out, and well, one of the marauders did get left behind. Now the siege tanks do very good. They do very good against these guys right here. The Ravagers are reasonable against them, but Marauder siege tank seems to be pretty much hard countering them in pretty much every single situation. So I'm gonna start transitioning to more and more Zerglings and a couple Roaches as well. Do make sure I have an Overseer there as well, just in case there is gonna be any kind of Widowmine play. But knowing that there is not any third bases yet, I am not too worried about exactly what is going on. But you can see in the work account, the Terran player has managed to catch up. He did decide to actually, like SCV up from 3 bases and 3 command centers, constantly producing more and more. So I am gonna have to do something here if I want this to be a successful ending. Nice little free siege tank pick off right there with the Ravager aggression. Once again, trying to do as much damage as I can. Corrosive Bow picking off one of the siege tanks as well. And I am reinforcing with more and more Zerglings. Do have a Spire right now in the production tab. The idea behind the Spire is that I can switch to Mutalisk that are obviously going to be able to pick off pretty much everything that he has. There are a couple of missile turrets ready to deal with the army that I have, but they aren't very massive at all. So I'm following this up with more Zerglings, also planning on following this up with more and more Mutas. In the meantime, the Terran player is just sticking to the Bio Bowl. He's making sure that he got the upgrades going down right here. +2 armor is just about to finish up. No +3 started yet, but that is not the biggest of deals. Did manage to actually block this third base from going up right here with one Overlord that is pooping creep right here at the third base. The command center is gonna take a little while longer to actually get up here. Nice little hit squad of units that I do manage to pick off, almost actually nuking down my own units. And yes, Corrosive Bile does do friendly fire. But right now, I'm a little bit worried again. I know that he's planning on taking a third base, and I know for a fact that I'm gonna have to deal with that properly if I want to get back into this game. What I should have done though, is just make a lot more workers. This third base still not fully saturated, and I think that's the main mistake that I am making so far in this game. Do manage to pick off those army, or that army as well. The range on Ravagers is very long, as you can see. They can actually hit from this distance as well, what Roaches usually would not be able to do. Now we do see another unit, or another building in production right here, which is going to be the bailing nest. So I'm switching, instead of like the Ravager Roach Zergling army, I'm switching towards a more like Mutaling Bane kind of army with a couple of Ravagers for support. In the meantime, the Terran player looks to be moving across the map once more. We see a lot of siege tanks that are leapfrogged forward right here, and he's trying to lure me in. He's trying to make sure that I start moving towards his third base. Third base is just about to get land right here. Last little bit of creep just about to dissipate. So very soon we should, you know, see that third command center taken into production. A lot of Mutalisks on the production tab, and we also see that there are already a bunch of them out, at least, if I'm not mistaken, there should be a couple of them out already, yeah. 9 of them already out, and he is aware of it. He knows that this is going on, so instantly we see the Marine production being, you know, being picked up a lot more, and, well, scouting around, I see that there is a random siege tank just hanging around right here. Free pick off, that is very nice. But here is where the major mistake happens during this game. So I'm trying to pick off whatever I can, obviously making sure that the mutas don't die. But I want to move in right here, knowing that there is only going to be 2 siege tanks. I'm not too worried, but here we go. A lot of the Mutalisks do get taken out right there. I'm trying to deal the damage that I can, knowing that if the mutas stay alive, I can pick off this army for practically free if the Marines are dead. However, now I found out that my mutas were instead fighting a lot of this army, and they ended up all going down when I was not paying attention to it, and the Terran player manages to clean up every single last unit of me right now. So I'm a little bit hesitant right now, knowing that the third base is going on, and you know, knowing that I'm gonna be in trouble very shortly if I don't manage to defend this attack. His army is moving across the map right now. There's a very scrappy it's a very scrappy game in general. 117 supply right now versus 70. A lot more bio in production as well as more siege tanks. He looks like he is switching back into more of like a marauder focused army, knowing that they are going to be great against the buildings that I have. And since I do 2 shots, they're a lot better against Zerglings than it used to be. Final little engagement right here. Can expect GG any moment right now, because it looks like the game is gonna go in Nathanias' favor. So very, very awesome game, not gonna deny it. Even though I'm pulling drones right now, I'm losing more and more, and I realized my mistake looking back at this game, that I should have droned up while the you know, wow, I killed like 30 workers of his. So very back and forth game. A lot of new things, cool abilities that you could see in this game, such as the Ravagers, such as the siege tank drop, such as the new Nydus Network play, the new timings and everything. Very, very, very awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I am gonna GG out of this one very shortly though. But yeah, as always, if you enjoyed this game, hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button so you will be the very first one to get a notification when I upload another game. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, and I'll see you in the next one.